This brief training program we're going to call Managing PowerPoint for Rotary Meetings. It really helps if you're at the podium of a Rotary meeting, especially if you're a club president, to be able to manage PowerPoint. So we're going to divide this into two parts. Part one is what I call the basics, and then part two is how to easily transition from one presentation to another. So let's go back to part one, basics. We're going to talk a little bit about just the copy-paste keys, then the punch in F5 to start the PowerPoint projection from the beginning. Then we'll talk about Shift F5, which is starting PowerPoint projections from the current slide. Then we're going to talk about a really powerful tool called Alt-Tab, which is how to swap your applications back and forth really easily. And we'll then talk about capturing images using Snagit. And then we'll get into part two, where we'll talk about how to easily transition from one presentation to another. So let's talk about the basics of copying and pasting. It's really the basic fundamental task of the computer. Most people spend an inordinate amount of time copying and pasting stuff. The easiest ways, of course, are to use the hotkeys Control-C and Control-V. Most people, when they want to copy something, they'll highlight it, then they'll go up to the menu, they'll click on Copy, go down here and put their cursor, and they'll go all up here to the menu bar, and then they'll click on Paste, and paste it in that way. And that takes an inordinate amount of time. Some people will just highlight the text they want, and then they'll do a right click, which brings up this menu, and they'll copy it, and they'll move their cursor down, and then they'll paste it with another right click. Again, that takes a heck of a lot of time. The easy and most simplest way is to simply highlight it, hit Control-C on your computer, and then paste that thing again down underneath it. When you learn to use these keys of Control-C and Control-V, you can do a lot of things really fast, and especially when you're building your PowerPoint presentations, as well as using the applications that I'm going to talk to you about here in just a few minutes. All right, let's go into PowerPoint for a second. As you can see, this is a typical PowerPoint presentation that you might use for your Rotary Club. Let's say you wanted to just immediately go in and start projecting this on the screen. Most people will go down to these lower icons here and see this small icon that looks like a screen, and they'll search around for that, and they'll click on it. Then that sends the PowerPoint into projection mode. So let me escape out of that by hitting the escape key in the top left of your keyboard. And as you can see, when you're standing up in front of the podium, it is really hard to see that small icon. And most presenters will be futzing around for looking for it. The trick is to use a hotkey. And the hotkey for going into projection when you're in this mode of PowerPoint is to merely hit F5. That immediately takes you into projection, and you're not sitting there futzing around looking for that small icon in the bottom right hand of your screen. Let's go back now. You can do that for pretty much any mode, so if you're in a different mode of view here, for example, this is the normal mode you'd be in, as opposed to trying to search around this icon in the lower right of your screen, again, just hit the F5 key, and there you have it. You're immediately right into your presentation. Now let's go back and escape out of that again. A little known trick is to, in fact, let's say you're in the middle of your presentation, and you're in this mode, this outline mode, and you actually want to go into a slide in the middle of the presentation. That trick is to hit the Shift key and then hit F5, and that takes you in the middle of the presentation. Escape out of that. So if you want to remember what those hotkeys are, merely go up to the slideshow menu, and there you'll see here where it says from the beginning, you'll see that F5 hotkey is noted in parentheses. If you want to start the presentation from the current slide, you can also see that that Shift plus F5 key is shown there. Okay, let's talk now about the Alt-Tab application swap. This is an incredibly powerful feature that you can swap between applications easily all the time without having to go down here in the system tray and look for your presentations or other kinds of icons that are down there. The Alt-Tab key combination is simply holding down the Alt key while also hitting the Tab key. Now, if you just hit it once real short, you'll see that all the applications that you have open will show up on the screen. However, if you hold down the Alt key and then tap the Tab key and then let go of the Alt key really fast, you can change applications back and forth. What actually happens is when this screen opens, you'll see that it'll toggle between the last two applications. So here's the little instructional menu, and then here's the PowerPoint that we're talking about. So by going back and forth, you control changing back and forth with the applications very fast, especially the last two that were open. Now, if you wanted to go the third one open, you'd hit Alt, Tab, and Tab again, and here you'll see where it actually went to the third screen that's open. To make it easy, I typically will hold the Alt key down with my thumb and then use my middle finger on my left hand to just tap on the Tab key as I toggle through these applications. A powerful function. You can move your applications around really fast. Let's now talk about the power of that Snagit application, which allows you to screen capture portions of a screen and then copy them and then paste them into a PowerPoint presentation really fast. And I'm going to show you an example. Let's start with the typical PowerPoint presentation at a meeting. And scrolling down, let's say we want to add an image there for today's guest speaker. Well, it just so happens that we have the PowerPoint for today's guest speaker. I'll hit Alt-Tab and go to it really quickly. And it's going to be the Phoenixville Council on Affordable Housing. Let's say I wanted to grab this picture that they've got on their slide really easily. By using the hotkey available in Snagit, I've actually set up the hotkey as being Control-Shift-S. You'll see that it then pops up this grid, which allows you to hold your cursor down and capture a portion of that slide. It then drops that picture into the Snagit software, where if you hit Control-A, which means all, and then Control-C, which means copy, then hit Alt-Tab back to the presentation, select the slide you want to put it on, and then hit Control-V for paste, and then resize it on that slide, you can see how very easily that is. Let's also say we want to go to let's go to the project report, which is another PowerPoint that we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. Let's go open that up and say we wanted to capture this image right here. The easy way to do that, again, is to hit Control-Shift-S, which pops up the Snagit software. Highlight what it is you want to capture, left mouse button down, let go of that. It then pops it into the Snagit editor. You hit Control-A, which is for all, hit Control-C for copy, and then you can hit Alt-Tab and tab through, and then drop it right down into your slide. See how easy that is? These are all powerful tools that allow you to manipulate any PowerPoint presentation easily and quickly. So I think that concludes part one. So take a look at that, and then we'll get into part two here in just a few minutes.